Hey there YouTube fans, AC Productions here, and today I'm going to show you how to make a car stereo work inside your home. Ever find yourself in the car for long periods of time just because the music sounds very good in the car? Wish that your home stereo could sound just as good? Well, today I'm going to show you how. Pretty simple. The only hard part is to look for a power converter that will convert your home electricity from the AC, alternating current, to DC, direct current, is what you're going to be needing for this install. As soon as you get that, everything else is very simple to do. Let's get started. Okay, tools needed for the job is going to be solder iron, solder paste flux, wire strippers, electrical tape, heat shrink tubing, but if you don't have heat shrink tubing, you can use electrical tape, and some red and black cable. Here is a power inverter I got. Took a snapshot of the label, also with its website if you wanted to get this exact power inverter I got. Here you got a few options. You could use these surround sound speakers. These are made for the home. Or you could use car audio speakers. Whichever you choose for your sound system is up to you. Here I have also the home theater subwoofer, but I also have a car audio subwoofer right here, which is by Rockford Fosgate. Okay, you want to get your cable, a red cable. I would say a length of 4 feet, but depending on where your location of your power inverter and your stereo are going to be, you may need shorter, you may need longer. For me, my length right now is approximately 3 to 4 feet, both on the positive and negative cable. On that, you're going to have to splice it and then twist the cable ends. As far as on the stereo itself, on the back, you'll see a black cable and you'll see a red and yellow cable separately. You want to get your wire strippers and strip the ends of the red and yellow, and then twist the two ends together. The red is the power, the yellow is to turn on the display. So you want to make sure you have power and display on. So just twist both cables together like so, and then just strip off the black and twist the end of that. So what you're going to do next is get your red cable, and you are going to just put the two cables together like so. So it should look like this. The next what you're going to do is you're going to put a little bit of solder paste flux on here, and then we're going to solder the connection. The solder paste flux helps solder the connector. If you just use just a regular solder, it has flux in it, but not enough to make any, sometimes stick. With the flux, it helps it stick a lot faster and quicker. So when grabbing your paste flux, you don't need to get a lot, just a little bit, just enough to put on the connection. So I usually just grab it with the solder. I'd say about that much is fine. You just need a little bit on there, so that way when you start soldering, the connection will just grab right away with the solder. Okay, so next what you want to do is grab your soldering gun and start soldering the connection. Once you're done soldering, should be an even amount of solder all around the connection. Once you do that, now you want to grab your heat shrink tubing and slide a piece over, and then just heat shrink with the lighter. If you don't have any heat shrink tubing, just wrap this connector with electrical tape. I have a heat shrink tubing, so what I'm going to do is just put the heat shrink tubing, and I'm just going to heat it up until the tubing starts to shrink over it. You don't want to put it in the flame too much, because then it'll start to tear. Just enough until you start to see it shrink. Once you see it shrink, you're done. Okay, next you want to grab your black cable. I already stripped the end of this cable from the radio. Now I'm going to grab my other cable and strip the end of that. You don't want too much, just enough to get both cables together when you, I'd say that should be about enough. I would say ½ an inch. Once you strip it, now you want to put the connections together. Once you put the connection together like that, now you want to put a little bit of paste flux and then solder this connection. Once you get your good even solder, just slide your heat shrink tubing over the connection. Again, if you don't have any heat shrink tubing, you could use electrical tape. Once you get it over, now just get your lighter and shrink the tubing. Okay, I'm gonna install my stereo setup here in my Moto Cave. So I did have a crappy stereo in here, but we're gonna upgrade to a better stereo. So I'm just gonna have it onto this aluminum shelf here. So what you want to do now is grab your positive cable and then just strip the end of it over here. Okay, you want to make sure you strip enough off the cable, because we're going to wrap it onto the loop of this the power inverter. So you don't want to do a little bit, you want to do a good amount of it so you can wrap it around, and then we're going to use electrical tape to cover that up. I would say a good inch worth of cable, maybe 1.5 inches worth of stripped cable would be good enough to wrap around on your power inverter. So you want to do this for both the power here and also for your ground off of the stereo here. So do the same with the negative. If you want to get an exact same measurement from your first one, what you do is just grab your first cable and then just line it up with your negative cable. Once you get it aligned right there, then you'll be able to exactly strip the same amount from your first cable. Okay, once you're done stripping the cable here, now you want to twist the ends. Okay, now you want to grab your positive end cable from the stereo, and you want to wrap it around the power inverter cable here. So just give it a few twists in there. If you happen to have these loops, then just loop it around. If you don't have a loop and you have just a straight cable, then just wrap it around the straight cable after you strip the insulation off of the cable. Every power inverter is different. It's up to whatever you have. All right, so once you get it all looped up there, now you want to do is put some electrical tape over that. And as you see at my power inverter, I have a blue cable. That's the way they wired it. Blue for me is positive, and obviously black is negative. Okay, now you want to grab your electrical tape and then just thoroughly wrap your cable here. And if you need to, you could go over it a few more times. You want to really make sure that the cable's really wrapped, because if you don't want it to touch any metal. Of course, I have it on an aluminum stand here. You just want to really make sure that it's thoroughly covered. Okay, grab your negative cable from the stereo and do the same thing. I'm gonna just loop it over through the loop here of the negative. And like I said, if you have something different, just wrap on how you have it for your power inverter. Once you get that all squared away, now you want to put electrical tape on this also. Okay, once you're done wrapping both the positive and the negative of your cables from the stereo to the power inverter, next comes the fun part: wiring up the speakers. Okay, so as you can see that on the stereo, you're gonna have different colors for speakers. You know, you got your purple, you got gray, white, and green. If you have a blue one, don't worry about that. The blue wire is for the amplifier. It's the remote wire. I'm not installing an amplifier now. I don't have one. I'm just gonna fold it and keep it off to the side. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 for 4 speakers. And I already have my cables here from my previously installed stereo, which I didn't like very much. That's why we're going with this route. But these are all just the cables that I had for the stereo. So now I'm just gonna wire up those speakers. Okay, when doing the wiring job, you're gonna have to splice all the speaker wires here. And if you already had some splice, you're gonna have to splice a little bit more than that, just so you could have a really good connection with all of your speaker wires. Alright, once you're done splicing all the cables, you're going to notice on all of these wires, no matter which color it is, go with purple for now. You're going to have one solid purple color, and then the other one's going to have a black line on it. The one with the black line is negative, the solid color is positive. So you just want to match it up when you're connecting it to your speakers. And on these cables, obviously the gold color, copper looking one is positive, and the silver one is negative. So you just want to make sure you connect it correctly. If you happen to connect it not correctly, nothing's really going to happen to it. The only thing is that the sound quality is not going to be as good if you connect it wrong. That's all. So you just want to make sure you get those connections right, because you want to make sure your sound quality comes out perfectly clear. Okay, so this one is a solid purple, so that's gonna go with the positive. And once you're done connecting all your speakers, just put a little bit of electrical tape over the connections. If you don't put any electrical tape over and the positive and the negative touch, you're gonna hear some static go through your speakers, and it may interrupt the music. So you definitely don't want that to happen. Okay, this one's the purple with the black stripe, so that's gonna be negative with your negative cable. And this part, you don't really have to solder it. Well, you could solder if you really want to. It'll be a permanent connection if you do it. I'm just gonna do it without any solder. I'm just gonna put electrical tape over this. I never know, I might want to change my mind with the speakers, and by doing it with electrical tape, I could undo the electrical tape and then just undo the connection. If I do it with the solder technique, I will have to clip the cable off and then redo the whole process all over again. So for now, I'm just gonna do electrical tape method as a temporary setup for now, and just go with that. All right, so that's what you want to do for the next following other cables here. Like I said, if it's a solid color, that's positive. So if we go with the gray one next, so it's a solid gray, will be positive. The one with the black stripe will be negative. And that's how it is for all the speakers, all the cables for the speakers. They all have the same thing. When you're going to cover up your connectors with electrical tape, you don't need to go crazy with a whole roll of electrical tape to cover the connector. I would say just a small little piece like this is all you need, because all you're doing really is just to cover the connector. So that the other connections don't touch each other. So just a small little piece is all you need to cover the electrical connection. Okay, once you're done with all your connections, what you want to do is just grab your radio here and just grab all the cables and just turn it to the other end. Speaker, kind of a little bit of a messy job at the moment, but I will tidy up the wires later. But for now, just do as best you can. If you want to tidy up all the wires right now, you can. But for now, I'm just going to leave it like that for now. And what you could do later is probably could zip tie it or however you want to do it. So just grab your radio. I'm just going to have it on top of that towel there for now. Okay, so next what you want to do is get your radio face and then put it on if you did not already do so. So get the radio face and go ahead and put that in. Alright, next what you want to do is plug in your power inverter. Okay, once you plug in your power inverter, now you go ahead and just press the power on button on your stereo. Should turn on. Okay. Everything's all connected. There's no antenna adapter. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the aux cord, and I'm going to plug in my portable music I got here. I got my PS Vita here, and that's pretty much what I'm going to mainly use it for. I don't really listen to the regular FM AM radio all that at all. So I usually always either listen to my iPod or I'll listen to my PS Vita. Alright, so let me go to my mode here. Should have it all up in the volume. There you go. Now you have a car stereo inside your man cave, and you can listen to a lot better stereo sound. So there you go. There you guys have it. Now you're able to enjoy car stereo sound inside your man cave. But there you guys have it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my video. I hope it was helpful if you're looking to do something similar. If you like my video, please like, subscribe, and leave any comments below. Thank you for watching.